Right. We are live. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Satisfactory. So last time we were here, we had finished off the uranium power plant, and we had a nice little box there to store all the waste, and we have solid power production. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to start working on plutonium, and also I guess we're going to need to be upgrading the uranium stuff just to make sure that everything works properly. Don't want to have any bugs or problems in our power plant, which could cause a catastrophe later down the line. Now, so far, all of these look good, but it's a bit hard to tell whether that's correct or not. So it looks like these are accumulating more fuel rods than they should be. So that's a little bit suspicious, as if I've done the math wrong or something. Or it's probably just that I had a lot built up over time. But in order to just check that our output is what it should be, let's go to here, pop a throughput monitor on that. So that's the waste belt, and it should be a nice solid 1000. And it looks like it is maybe around there. Looks close anyways. And boy, the radiation sure is radiating around here. Now we have a lot of fuel rods built up on the belts over here. And this one is also showing 98%. That's probably nothing, probably just some weird thing with the water. It's not to do with the fuel rods because it's got plenty of those. Alright. Let's head on over into the factory proper to see what's going on over here. And we are looking for yellow lights. So that is showing 100%, which is good. Now if we run all the way up to here at the actual fuel rod production, we're still showing 95%, so this was a problem that we'd had previously. And it looks like the encased uranium might have problems. It's hard to tell because I don't see any yellow lights actively at the moment. That definitely does not mean that they don't exist. So, let's see if we can work that out. So the encased uranium cells are going this way. And, oh right, I think I had determined that we didn't have enough sulfur throughput. Right, so these are all a bit sketch. Although they're showing 100% now, but I don't know, I feel like having more sulfur would probably be wise. So let's drop down to the sulfur. And are we about to see an interruption here? So that is going to tick all the way down to there. And so now all of the sulfur output is coming from here. And it looks like it's doing fine. I don't see any major issues. But I think because it does seem like it's probably partially an issue. Like we've got nuclear sulfur 3 and nuclear sulfur 4, both of which are frequently empty. Let's head over to where the sulfur comes from, which is literally right over here, and see if we're getting too much of a backup over here. Alright, so we're over here now. And yes, this sulfur is not getting output fast enough. So let's get another drone port and dismantle that, replace you with another splitter, and bring that splitter forwards. Then we replace you with a splitter for the fuel. So the fuel can go out into the new drone port, which gets powered up. So this is sulfur source 300 part 3. And you get a drone, and you get to go to nuclear sulfur 3, probably. So hopefully that will keep this whole thing running more. So that's outgoing 100 a minute. That's outgoing 100 a minute. So theoretically, adding a third one on there should bring this outgoing to a full 300 a minute. Who knows? It should work, probably. So now we can just head on back and continue investigating, see if we can spot anything else. Alright, so here we have plenty of sulfur. And none of this sulfur is going to get sunk, right? That's not a thing that we're doing. Doesn't look like it, at least. So that's good. We don't want to waste it. The uranium looks like it's going just fine. So that's all solid. See here, just random inspection. You look like you're doing just fine. So hopefully the increased sulfur supply will just quietly solve any issues. And yeah, these definitely are occasionally being short on sulfur. So that should... We added an additional drone port, so it should be all set and ready to go. Unless the problem is something else. Alright, I see this one had a yellow light, and is that just the same sulfur problem as always? Because this one... Yeah, it must be. Alright. Well, as long as that's getting solved, then it's getting solved. And the uranium is going out. And we should be all set. At least for that problem. Now, are there any other problems in this entire thing? This one was just short on cells. I'm still not confident about the rotors. The rotor production seems suspicious. Like, for it to be that low. So let's get over here and see if we can spot that being an issue preemptively. So we have 100% on all of these. Right, 100% on all of them. And the rotors are all going out properly. They're not getting limited by belt speed anywhere. Everything is going fine. Alright, rotor production should be fine then. I guess they were broken previously, and they just probably haven't had the time to unbreak. Okay, so the EM control rods and crystal oscillators are both increasing their internal buffers, which is exactly what you'd expect to see. Now, I want to remove all the internal buffers from this entire thing, but I don't know if that's a good idea since it's actively being a power plant. Might cause problems. Who knows? So the sulfur here is still a bit weird. Is there a belt speed limitation in here somewhere? It looks like there... It honestly looks like there might be. So this sulfur is going out this way. These Mark II belts are feeding into these Mark I belts, which are good enough, because it's 52 per minute. So then this would be 104 per minute. Those are Mark IIIs. It would be 200. This would be Mark IVs. So yeah, it should be fine. It should be fine. It's just very close in a lot of cases. Alright, what if... That is Mark VI. Okay, so that's probably just all right then. If the sulfur supplies are backlogging properly, then it'll be all right. I don't like how I've sorted these, but whatever. Let's just hop over to the sulfur source that I just set up, see how it's doing. Alright, over we go. And let's do some investigating. Have to go right past the radiation storage, unfortunately. I wonder if I should be putting that further out of the way. Alright, this is now outputting properly. So it's splitting between all three of these. And this last one is still getting set up, probably. But it seems to be working. So this is now showing approaching 100%. Alright, so that is probably all set. Now we need to start making preparations for the plutonium factory. And before that, actually, how is this going? I'm pretty sure I calculated that this has 24 hours worth of storage. So this first row is already pretty close to filled, but the last row obviously is not. Let's see here. If I get another blueprint in here, and then we just pop this in next to the first one, like that. And then connect that across. So now we should have twice as much storage, which should hopefully last us long enough to not have any issues. So with 1,000 of this coming in per minute, and let's confirm, is that 1,000? No, it's actually pretty consistently just less than 1,000, which does make me suspect that something has gone wrong there. But it's probably not a big deal. Are any of these guys showing up as yellow? So you're up to 99%. Yeah, I think that's all good. So we have our additional storage. This should last for like 2 full days of game time, which should be more than enough. So now let's figure out what sort of stuff we need for the plutonium power plant. And the answer is all sorts of things. You need a little bit of copper, a little bit of crude oil, a decent chunk of deuterium, and aluminum and rubber. We need a big chunk of limestone and nitrogen gas, and raw quartz and sulfur. Alright, this is gonna be a bit tricky. Now, do I just put this on the train network? Because theoretically, just this power plant here should be enough. So if I just put the plutonium stuff onto the train network, even if it breaks, which is unlikely to do, then this will still be running and we'll still have our storage depot. So yeah, let's head up here. And okay, this is a different unrelated factory, but it seems to have broken. So let's just do a nice fix for that. So you don't have any cooling systems. Cooling systems, cooling systems, cooling systems. Where are the cooling systems? Is that probably these blenders over here? If I had to guess. Alright, no, those are fused modular frames, which are also not working super great, but I don't see why. I guess maybe nitrogen supplies get interrupted. Hard to say. Alright, so cooling systems, where are they? Is that, it could be these rows of machines? Yes. And you are also not experiencing any current problems. So I don't know what's going on there. Especially since all these are straight up 0%. You would not expect 0% when you can physically see that it's working. So it must be that the nitrogen, I just happen to catch the nitrogen showing up for once, and it usually doesn't. So let's drop down here, and actually where would the nitrogen be coming from? The nitrogen would be coming from over here. And it's flowing at a stable rate. So now let's fly up to the top floor, and I'm expecting to see the nitrogen just like immediately running out as soon as I get up there. Because if it's at 0%, then that is something. Alright, we're up here now. Oil, aluminum, nitrogen. Alright, so the nitrogen train isn't here, neither is the aluminum train. And the nitrogen supply is, yeah, so it's already just entirely empty. Okay, but then we have this buffer over here. which has some nitrogen in it, but it's gonna run out pretty fast if it's draining at like 400, 500. Alright, so that I would assume to be the problem. We don't have enough nitrogen. So we're going to need to make sure we get more nitrogen in general, which we're going to have to do anyways because our nuclear power plant requires nitrogen. Okay, the aluminum train is also not present, although in that case it seems fine. Looks like we've got plenty of aluminum to spare, at least for the short term. Alright, so yeah, so step one is to get the aluminum source all figured out. And we've got this guy over here as a good source of nitrogen. So I think we're going to go and set that up. So we just have to run off to the west and find that nitrogen source. Alright, now we're over here, and we are slide jumping along. Alright, so how far do we need to go exactly? We need to go past the bauxite production, past the high-speed connector production. Okay. So off we go. And we just slide jump along until we get there. And then we're going to need to figure out how the nitrogen actually works in terms of distributing it. Let's see, is that it down there? You can see a resource well in the distance. I don't know if it's the same one or if it's some random water well. It might be a random water well. Although it wouldn't be too far from the nitrogen well we're thinking of anyways. Alright, so down we go. And just past here. So yeah, it's a little bit further this way. And probably like this general vicinity. Yeah, now we should be looking straight at it, and I think it is that one that we see off in the distance. Alright, so let's get this connected up to the train network. Alright, so now we get rail on this. And then we're going to be able to just blueprint auto-connect that along. But before we get to there, we're going to need to connect the tracks up to each other. Like that apparently works. And then out to there and to there. Alright, so now we just need to get the signals in, as this train showing up on top of it helpfully reminds. So you get a path signal going in, and a block signal going out. You get to be a path signal. You get to be a path signal, and you get to be a block signal. Alright, so that's all set up, and now we just need to bring this along until we get to the nitrogen. So down we go. And how far is this? It's pretty far, but not horribly so. I guess we'll just be able to see it in the distance. So we're just gonna keep placing these rails. And shouldn't take that much longer. Alright. Almost there. Almost there. Alright, so now we're here. We're sort of directly above it. So now let's get this set up and attached to the train. Alright, so this all goes out, gets to be a giant station. And we get a train station in. Now this needs to line up over to here. And something like that should be fine. So then it attaches into that, and we are going to call this central nitrogen, I guess. Central nitrogen source. So that is in, and now we get fluid freight platforms. Technically it's more space efficient to do this with solids, but who cares? Not me. Alright, so let's just get a 5x5 foundation on here to finish this off. And is it misaligned? Yes, of course it is. Alright, so now this is lined up correctly vertically. So we can just set it up horizontally and place that in. Alright, so now we have all 5 of those. And I don't know how much output this is going to be, so we're going to not do the connections up to this just yet. Instead, we are simply going to get the railway attached in, which needs to go a bit around out of the way, and then go to connect up with this. We need to leave enough space for it to connect, for the pipes to connect across, but we don't need to leave that much space for that. So just something like that. Now this is accessible. And let's just give some signals in there. Alright, is there any power grid in the vicinity? Yes, there is, actually. There's one right over there. So, we don't need to bring power down, we just need to bring a wall with pipes. Alright. So this is going to go down, and we're going to swap to parachute so that we don't have to worry about that as much. We just drop down, build the wall sections down as we go, and we're going to have to get a pipe up this wall, which shouldn't be too hard. Probably multiple pipes actually, which might be a little bit annoying. Alright, so now the wall basically makes it down to ground level. Swap briefly to jetpack. And let's go grab this power pole that we saw. Where were you? There you are. Alright, so we put that there. Is that hard drive one that we've already grabbed? Alright, we can get a new hard drive as we're passing through. That's convenient. So let me dismantle that and move on. Alright, so back to hover pack for this. And we get a resource well pressurizer. So this needs to get powered up. Like that. And then max overclocked to 3,000 meters cubed per minute. That's actually... that's a lot. Jeez, okay. Well, not going to complain about that, although we might want to wind up using packaged nitrogen in that case. Although, I don't actually know how... We haven't been doing packaged stuff, so we don't really have the infrastructure for that. No, I think we are going to wind up just doing it this way. So these get grouped up into batches of 2. 1, 2. And we're going to have to wait for those guys to move. So let's get the rest of these all set up. Alright. So those are now all connected up. And we have 5 pipes of 600 nitrogen. Which is a lot. So, how are we gonna manage all of this nitrogen? So I guess step 1 will be bringing it up there, and then we're gonna need some buffers probably in order to fill it at full speed, and we're gonna need multiple trains unloading it. Alright, so let's just get these guys all over in the right direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's where the wall is going. And then we just need to bring these past each other and then start them going up. Thank goodness it's a gas. This would be a huge headache if this were like oil or something. Alright, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all of them. And we are going to need to get these up onto the wall now. So you go up there. Of course, there's a creature in the way. Please move. I don't want to zap you, but I will. There we go. He's out of the way now. Alright, so then we get that one up. Then we get that one. And we get like 2 more of these guys. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is all of them. And then the other thing that I probably want is a hypertube cannon so that I can get up quickly. So we can just place that in. Get you powered up. And now we need to mess with the last one to get it to go straight up. Alright, I don't know what it's trying to do here. Alright, that is probably not steep enough, but should be close at least. Alright, so back to jetpack mode. And yeah, we can control that to get us up here quite nicely. And just need a little bit of boost to get up the last bit. Alright, so now we're up here and we need to deal with massive scale nitrogen inputs. So, in order to do that, we're going to need each of these to have 2 pipes going in. Like this. And now we just have to connect these up to the inputs. So this can theoretically handle just less than 6,000, assuming that the storage works, which it probably won't. Alright, so we have that. Then we're going to need a bunch of... We're going to need a bunch of room down here. And we're going to need some buffer fluid things so that we can keep them stored while it's going. Alright, so we have room for that. Now, if we get industrial fluid buffers... Oh, this isn't short enough. Of course this isn't short enough. Why would it be? So we need to go another couple foundations down in order to have enough head space to place the industrial fluid buffers. Alright, let's get rid of those last 3. And then just go down like there, because that should be plenty of space. And now I can't get the 5x5 blueprint lined up. There we go. Alright, so now let's make up all of that area. So, now we can get our fluid buffers in. And we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to need a lot of these, I think. Because we need to be filling them up. Like, we need to be filling 2 fluid buffers per pipe. And then output those into these. So what do I mean by that? So if we have you go up there and you go up there, and then we have our pipe here, and you go down there, and you connect across to there. So now we can have a constant stream of 600 into here. And when it gets interrupted, then it can get fixed by that. So let's just get all of these set up for working like that, and then we'll figure out how many more we need. Alright, so you need to stop on the ceiling because we're starting to get too far away. Alright, you aren't gonna cooperate, which means that I placed you wrong, so you go like that. And then this pipe goes in to there. And this pipe will go in to there. And then we need 2 more. So not that much more space. That's facing the wrong way. There we go. And now we just get these connected up the last little bit. And we need to make sure that these are placed properly, which is going into the floor holes, not out of them. Because there's still that unfortunate bug. Alright, so then you go like that. You need a little bit more foundation. So that then comes along and in to there. Alright, so those are now all connected. Then our next step is going to be getting this bit connected up. So you go like that, and then, no, that's not going to work. Alright, so I think it would be better if we do something like that, and then like that. And then we just have to do a couple more of those. Now I want to keep these as compact over in this direction as possible for the convenience of building them on the pipes. Oh, and speaking of which, that needs to be connected in that way. Alright, so then we get this one over to here. And over to there. And then we get one more. So you go like this into there and across to there and then placed in. Alright, so now we just have to get these pipes all onto this wall and also this wall, which exists now. So we just have to do something like that. And actually, in this case, since the other side is connected up already, we can connect them out from the floor hole. 3 and 4 and one more. This one is messed up. So there we go. Get that fixed. And number 5. Alright. So now we just have these 5 pipes going down there. And having power in this section would be convenient so that we can hover pack down while we build. But I should be able to do this with the parachute. Hopefully. It's going to require a bit of speed, but hopefully I'm able to do that. Alright, parachute activated. And yeah, okay, this should be plenty of time. So we drop down to here. And we bring each of these pipes down as far as they'll go. And we're going to need to expand that down a little bit. And then we just keep bringing these pipes down. And then we bring the wall down. Alright, just keep on going. It's not that far, fortunately. So there we go. Man, the parachute falls so slowly. I forgot how nice this is. Let's drop a little bit faster just to get at a good angle for it. And we are drifting a lot, which is annoying. Alright, so this comes down a little bit more. And now we just have to fill in this last little segment. Alright, so we have everything except like one tiny chunk missing. But that will be good enough that it shouldn't cause any problems. So now this all comes down. And down. Okay, now we're close enough that we should be able to just hover pack the rest of the way. And then just connect them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so that is nitrogen going out. And we just need to hypertube back up. And up to jetpack if we need to adjust. There we go. Up we go, and jetpack up the last little bit. Alright, so now we have this. So these are starting to fill up with nitrogen. And then they're going to be loading these guys up. So the fill rate is currently very slow, but it should be pretty rapidly increasing. So yes, starting to open up. Mid-50s. These ones are slower, probably because I physically placed the pipes later. Alright, so this is all set up now. And how well is this going to work? So the fluid buffers are already filling at max rate of 300 per minute each. And they're only draining at a significantly slower rate, which I find highly suspicious. Why are you doing that? I mean, I guess it's accelerating over time, so it's probably fine. Like, we're up to 170 some now. We should be hitting 600 flat for each of these over time. Alright, so I'm going to start off with... Let's just put a train in for the thermal propulsion rocket situation, because they were definitely short on nitrogen. And now we have no shortage of nitrogen. So this is going to be TPR nitrogen 2. And it is going to go from central nitrogen source to TPR nitrogen. And it is, yeah, it's just going to do that. So you are now doing whatever it is you do. Are you having some sort of problem? No, you're just sitting there being confused. There's not a problem with that. All of those are hooked up. So these are now filling at 300 per minute, and it's still going up. Oh, did I not set... Alright, I did, in fact, set that up. So what if you need to be slightly forwards? Like that. Alright, I guess you just got confused somehow. So you're going to leave, and I guess just turn around somewhere and come right back to here. In the meantime, the fill rate is getting there. It's up to 360 per minute. So the fluid buffers are filling up. Which I don't know why they were doing that when there's another thing higher up to fill, but I guess they can do what they want. It's not going to hurt things in the long term, so I'm fine with it. Alright, so this is now up to like 400 a minute. I don't know what exactly is causing it to not be going at full speed through the pipes. Probably the presence of the fluid buffers that want to be taking some of it. Yeah, probably something like that. I don't know. It should get there pretty quickly anyways. So it's up to 420 per minute. And that train that I just sent out should be returning like any minute now. Hello, we are playing Satisfactory, where we are just trying to get additional source of nitrogen set up because I noticed we were running low on some of that stuff. So this is going to send out a not quite full, but almost full train of nitrogen to the thermal propulsion rockets, which needed it. How's your day going? It's going pretty good. Going pretty good. Just figuring out some stuff in the game. Alright, so that is going to take a whole bunch of nitrogen out and hopefully keep the thermal propulsion rocket factory going better. Alright. And now we're off. And we're filling up. And hopefully this should fill up pretty fast now. Let's hit like 500 per minute. Almost at 600 per minute, but not quite. Alright, so then this is doing its thing. Now the buffers are sending out virtually everything that they get. So that's good. It means that these are going to fill up pretty quickly. But it's also going to mean that they don't really do much buffering. Who knows? So yeah, we've sent off that train to the thermal propulsion rockets, and hopefully that'll also just like incidentally fix all the other stuff. Let's see here. Alright. Is this my favorite game? Yeah, I would say it's definitely one of my favorite games. I don't know, it's hard to tell. I don't like to say, you know, this is my favorite because it's hard to tell because they're all different. But I'm having fun with this. Alright, there we go. This is filling up bit by bit. Nitrogen looks like it's doing fine. And I would imagine that train that we sent off will be a fair bit of time before it comes back. And I just want to see this all fill up. I want to see it actually work properly, like in terms of outputting at a super high speed, which means that I need the system to be mostly saturated before then. Alright, so this is up to like 1400 almost. I imagine the other ones are going to be similar. Yep. This is not my first playthrough. I've played through this game quite a couple of times. I generally have a pretty good idea of what I'm doing in this game. Although I haven't done every single thing. Like, I'm going to be doing a Plutonium factory, and I think that's the first time I'm doing that. Alright, so that is going. Are these still filling? These should still be filling, right? Yes. So that's good. And all the trains off there have nothing to do with this right now. Is it hard to play the game? It's like a decent amount of thinking. I wouldn't say it's difficult, because it like teaches you pretty well how to do stuff, but you definitely have to put some thought into it. Alright, so this is almost filled, which is exciting. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's a fun game. Alright, so that fills up. And should be full any second now. Yep, there we go. Alright, so now that's full, which means that now the buffers are going to be filling with their extras. And so now their drain rate is dropping off a cliff, and we should be getting a good solid backlog of nitrogen in here. Although it's obviously not easy to tell how well that's going to transform into anything useful. Really what we need is for a nitrogen train to show up again. Like, is that it there? No, that's the Dune Desert train, I think. Alright. So this is all good. All these are filled. All these are full. And where is that train that I sent out? It shouldn't have had that far of a trip, right? Should be just around there somewhere, although I have the trains hidden from the map menu because there's so many of them. Alright. Back down to look at the buffers. How are they doing? They're filling up slowly but surely. It looks like it's sort of oscillating between which one that fills and which one it doesn't. It's weird that sometimes the fill rate is above 600, considering that should theoretically not happen. But I guess that's just what it's going to be like. Alright, we do have our train coming back here. So then we get to see how fast it can refill the platform. Alright, so you are here. And this is all primed and ready to go, hopefully. So now we fill up the train, and off it goes. And the pipes are filling and all ready to go. Now the train leaves, and we have a fill rate of 800 and rising rapidly. Alright, so that seems to be working then. So this should help make the fill rate be stable. It caps out at like 950 and then starts to drop, and I would imagine that that is the excess buffer in here being drawn down, causing the drain rate to decrease. Yeah. Why am I not surprised? Alright. Alright, so yeah, this is gonna fill itself up real quick and should be able to easily provide multiple trains. Especially if it gets even more filled with the buffers. Alright, so that should be nitrogen source all set up for now. Outgoing transfer rate is not showing as very high. I guess that's just per platform, so across all of them it's a decent chunk. Alright, that's full, and now this does its whole thing, and we start recharging the buffers. Alright, so if we have our nitrogen supply set up, then the next thing we need to check on is we need to check on the aluminum supply, because that is another thing which we're going to be using for this factory, and we need to make sure that it's functional. So the aluminum factory should be over this way, I think. From what I recall, it was just a little bit further to the east. So we run on over this way, and off we go. So we just slide on over here, and here we are. Alright. So here we are, we're at the aluminum setup, and bauxite input looks like it's doing fine. The aluminum output is going strong, looks like. And as far as actually managing to fill up trains, it looks like it's not quite there. Alright, so some of these aren't going at the proper rate. Others of them are. It should be a clean 780 on each. And it also looks like we aren't even getting enough to satisfy our demand. So let's just head back here and let's see what is going on. So it should be pretty noticeable. Here we have some yellows, and that's not enough aluminum scrap. Alright, you are yellow. And you are 66% because too much water. Okay, that's a bit of a problem. So, why is there too much water? That would mean that one of these guys isn't running at full speed and taking all the water that it needs. So where are you? You're at 91% because not enough alumina solution. Alright, so your alumina solution comes from back here. And you don't have enough water. And your water comes from this gigantic pipe, which is just everything. Okay. Now, this is the one which is low on water. And its water is theoretically coming most directly from this pipe. And these are the ones which don't have enough alumina solution. Okay. So let's go back over to the ones which had too much water. Like, okay, this one theoretically has too much alumina solution, if anything. So that is interesting. Alright, so that's 100, that's 100, this is 66%. Okay, that's mysterious. It's specifically this machine. I guess it's sort of the furthest from water outputs. Alright, so what does that mean? And also, I mean, we're probably just going to have to increase aluminum production by a lot. By a lot more than just fixing the bugs in this system. But I do want to fix the bugs in this system. So we have this water pipe, and it is going at 600 per minute. And that's apparently not enough. So if we just follow this down here, so we have our valve here which prevents water coming from over there. So these guys are getting enough water over here. And then if we go over this way, past this valve, those are all looking fine. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I do not know what's going on here. Alright, so what is the problem? Which of these isn't getting enough water? It was like this one. So we're short. We have too much water over there and not enough water over here. So that's a bit of a weird problem. And this one is not enough alumina solution. Now, if I remember, some of these were freshwater inputs and some of them were using recycled water. So how did that work? So this system's water inputs come from that pipe over there. So all of these guys are definitely going to have enough water. Like this first batch up to here. And then past that is where the water recycling starts. Alright, so theoretically these first couple batches... So we need to get... What was our problem that we noticed? We had water surplus here, water shortage over there. So somewhere in this whole giant line, we have something not working properly. Some sort of bottleneck. So this pipe goes over to here. What if we had you go over to there? So if we do that, then I don't know, maybe it'll work. Now I definitely haven't thought through the consequences of that decision. So this is a pipe of 600 and it's sending out 195. That's like 400 there and like another bit there. So these three... Okay, wait, actually, I understand now. So that valve is a problem. So this pipe of 600-ish is feeding these three, but then has a little bit spare left over, which is going into this one. So maybe if I just let it be, it'll be fine. Maybe if I just let it be without the valves, it'll be fine, and then I might have to replace this pipe, although I also might not. It's hard to say. In the short term, it looks better for now, at least. So yeah, this is the one which was messed up, and now it's definitely outputting enough water. So we're gonna have to see if we've just pushed the problem around or if we've actually fixed it. But hopefully that'll be something. Alright, so this should all be full belts, and it looks better now. That looks a lot better in the short term. I don't know if that's actually solved the problem or if it's just waiting to materialize somewhere else. But this is looking good. Those do all look like full belts. Alright, so the aluminum supply has been improved. However, I am very much skeptical that we're actually producing enough aluminum to feed everything at this point. Because all of these boxes are empty around the clock, and it doesn't seem to be doing great. So we're going to need to make a new aluminum factory in all likelihood before we can make our plutonium factory. So that's a bit of a shame. And we'll need that just to feed the factories we have currently. And especially once we're adding... I mean, how much aluminum demand is this? Almost 300 ingots per minute, which we certainly don't have here. So these should all be getting closer to the 780 level. But yeah, we're gonna want a new aluminum factory, possibly just like probably just making as much as physically possible. Like, bauxite doesn't have any purpose other than making aluminum, right? I guess, let's see here. I guess you can convert it to stuff, but I'm not doing that. So yeah, I think that's going to be our next task, I guess, is making a giant upscaled version of this aluminum factory with Mark 6 belts of everything, and just, I don't know if I'll go to the effort of gathering like all the bauxite on the map, or if I'll just do something like this where I have, 5 full belts, but the full belts will be much bigger this time. Okay, we are seeing problems again in our ingot output. So let's see what's happened. So this was 94%, but I see no reason for it to be. Okay, this one is actively yellow at the moment. 97%, and that's just going to be because of not enough alumina solution. So do any of these have an excuse for not going at 100%? Yes, this one doesn't have enough water. And neither does this one. Okay. I guess that makes sense. So this is trying to feed all of that in addition to those two. And I would not be surprised to see some of these guys over here are not getting enough water out. I don't know. I think if I just put a valve there and a valve there and tell you to be like not that much, just like a little bit, then that will probably help. So hopefully that will help, and this will be fueled mostly from the right side so that this can go back to working again. Although I am, frankly, not all that optimistic about it happening. Yeah, okay, we're gonna move on to make a new bauxite or aluminum factory. So, let's see here. What does aluminum need? We can use the same sort of general design as we did for this one, for our new one. Which means, I believe we just need bauxite, quartz, and no, bauxite, copper, and oil. Or the aluminum itself is actually probably just bauxite and oil, right? The copper is for the all-clad sheets, which I don't need to make more of necessarily. Alright, so let's do that. We've got... What's the ratios here? In terms of how much I want to get out versus how much I need to put in. So, sloppy alumina is bauxite and water to make alumina solution. And it is 200 bauxite to 240 alumina solution. So then you can turn that into scrap at 180 to 300. So if this were... How much would this have to be 240? Would it be 420, 410, just 400? Yes, so we have 200 to 240 to 400, and then scrap to ingots is just 2 to 1. Okay. So that is pretty clean. Actually, hang on. Did I just think something? So, alumina solution, the default recipe is 12 to 12, but it also makes some silica. Alright, we could probably do some crazy stuff with that to get it more efficient. So if we were to use the default recipe, we would get... So I guess we would get more bauxite use but we would get some silica out of it, and then we could use that silica with the scrap to make the ingots more efficiently. Nah, that's just too much work. Let's just do it the easy way. Alright, so if we want a huge amount of aluminum ingots, how much would we want? We would need to grab up a decent chunk of bauxite, and there is not that much bauxite on the map. At least not left. So we've got those 2 nodes there. We've got a couple nodes in the swamp, because everything is always in the swamp, including a pure node, and I can't mouse over that one to see what it is. So let's hide some stuff so that we can. So we have a pure, a normal, and an impure over there. And I believe pure nodes at this point are just 1200 per minute. So how much bauxite would we need? We also have... So we have these guys in the center, which we've mostly used, although we might be able to grab some more bauxite out of them. Because I don't know, like, if we're using 100% of the bauxite from those. But I think we just use this batch in there. So we get 1200 plus 600 is 1800 plus 300 is 2100. 2100 bauxite there. That's 2100 aluminum ingots, which really is, I mean, it's a decent chunk, but it's not anything crazy. And then those 2 are just boring nodes. We could possibly use that crude oil well to get the oil for this. Or we could just import the oil from the drone network. Alright, there's no bauxite in all these various places because it's all mostly in the middle of the map. Alright, let's check out some of the bauxite places we have to see if we can, like, swap them over to Mark III miners or overclock them more or something like that. Because I want to make an insane amount of aluminum ingots. Alright, so this jump is gonna require me to jetpack across if I want to go directly. So off we go. Hoverpack would not reach this distance. Alright, so we can just jetpack over. And let's find that bauxite. That is probably this train station here. Alright, so step 1 is going to be to drop down and see if these are all max overclocked Mark III miners or not. Alright, so you are a Mark III max overclocked. Yes, you are. But do you have the belts for it? No, you don't. Alright, so yeah, we can get more out of this by upgrading you to Mark VI belts. What about you? Drop down to here. You are just going at 600. I have Mark V belts, so I assume that that's going to be good enough. Yeah, alright. Then we have this one, which is also a Mark V belt, and that is taking from both of those. Actually, this... I didn't check if this was a Mark III miner. Are you... Yes, you are. And what about these two out here? What type of miners are you? You're Mark III max overclocked on an impure. And you, I would imagine you're the same. Yep. Alright, so with that one belt upgrade, which we're going to need to propagate all the way up, then we will have enough output to extract all this bauxite. And then we're going to need to be thinking about how exactly to get this somewhere we need it to be. Alright, so this goes up here, and we just have to upgrade it all the way. So you get to be Mark VI belts all the way up. And then you get to be Mark VI belt there. And out to here. And then you're going to split there and do whatever it is you need to do. Past that splitting point, it shouldn't be necessary to do more overclocking, because these are all obviously going to be just fractions of what it otherwise would be. Alright, and we do have a ton of spare bauxite in here. Except this one over here, which weirdly doesn't have as much. So our bauxite isn't being taken evenly, which is fine, I guess. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's probably not going to completely ruin everything, so I guess we just leave it as is. Maybe we need to upgrade some of those a little bit. Speaking of which, let's get these upgraded to Mark VI belts, just for the sake of speed loading, all that stuff. Alright, so this is still backing up, I think. So let's get all those extra fast, so that as much of this can be output at max speed as possible. And this stuff down here is all going to be limited by belt speed, so we're not going to worry about that. So that is full and still going. This front one is where most of the bauxite gets taken from, and it is going to need to fill its buffer some more before it can work properly. But that should be fine. And then we have a normal node there. We have a pure node out there, which we're probably going to need to fix. And a couple more over that way. Let's put the train stations back on. Alright, so this is now set up to be able to be a fair bit better at outputting bauxite, although it's still like weirdly slow at past the point where it splits. So that this is the lower quality 1 to 5 splitter, I think. Alright, so that's fine then. Yeah, so we're just gonna assume that that is fine. We've capped out its bauxite production. And actually, do these guys go to like a central distributor point, or do they just go direct? They do go to a central distributor point, at least that one does. So that is pretty likely to become a bottleneck as well. Although we'll have to fix it and see. Alright, let's get going over this way where there's more bauxite. It's weird. I'm at the point now where, like, it makes sense to just mass produce everything because I have all of the, basically everything that you need to build big factories. Like, I'm not short on belt speed or anything. So I might as well just produce as much aluminum as I can so I don't have to worry about it ever again. If I do have to worry about it again, then we'll have serious problems. Alright, I didn't pass any relevant bauxite sources, right? No, that one was normal. That one is one of them, which we're going to need to deal with. Although that might be like feeding into a drone port. Alright, so we're going to go over to here. And now we do have a bauxite output here. Alright, so let's drop down and swap the jetpack and catch our fall. Alright, so this bauxite is going to be coming from here. And it's gonna go all the way out this way. Oh, probably to that normal node there. Yeah, okay, so that's just a normal node, which means it's gonna be like 600-ish, meaning I can just leave it alone. The thing that I care about is going to be this pure node that's over here. So you're a minor Mark III, and you're max overclocked now. So let's start getting these upgrades in so that this can output fully. Alright, there, and then we have to start getting you up. And for some reason I don't have power out here, so we're going to be jetpacking our way up. Alright, so let's just land there real quick to reset. And then keep making our way up. Forgot how insane the speed on this thing is. Okay, so now that we're up here, we need to get that placed, and you, and then the last little bit, and then we have to investigate why this one is stopped and the other one isn't. Alright, so you do that. So we have just a problem where this is only feeding these three and not those ones over there. So these ones over here are only getting fed by like 600 a minute, and these three are getting fed by like 1200 a minute. I can't begin to imagine why I did this in this particular way. So I split you into 5, but I did it wrong. So yeah, so this goes out to there. Alright, I just need to make sure that this belt has the option of going over there. So let's just change this ever so slightly. And let's see, so you go there, you go there. I imagine I'm going to have to reconnect that. And then that belt goes across to there. Where it will then connect up like so, and then we're gonna need buffer chests in here for all of these guys as well. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking when I was designing this. I definitely did not do a good job of this. Alright, so you get buffer chests at each of the inputs here. Like that. Okay, so then we can go back to doing it this way, which is far from ideal, but is something. And then we just need to get these buffer chests connected in. So now all of this can be running around the clock. And let's see here. This looks like these belts need to be made faster. And okay, actually this whole thing is not ideal because now this isn't getting a chance to get into an output anywhere. Yeah, okay, let's just tear this whole thing apart and rebuild it, because this is just awful. Genuinely no idea what I was thinking when I did this. I mean, I was probably thinking that it wasn't a big deal, and probably at the time it wasn't. Can I dismantle filter just belts for now? I don't want to tear the concrete out, but alright, so that all goes away. Then let's get the conveyor poles in there out of the way. Then let's get the mergers. Actually, let's get all the mergers while we're at it. And the splitters. And alright, let's get those last couple belts there. And the Mark 6 belts that need to go. Alright, so now we have a nice clean setup. So the first thing what we need to do is we need to do a 2 to 5 balancer that balances evenly. So to start, we need a couple of splitters there for those 3, and then there for those 2, and the imagined 6th one. So these go out to here, and then this would loop back into both of these outputs. So you would loop back to there, and actually you would have to loop back to multiple places. So you would loop back to there, and then also go across to here, where you can connect in like that. Although we're probably gonna need to move that to leave space for this. Alright, so if we get even, yeah, so this is gonna need to come out like that, and then this is gonna need to go up and then over. Alright, so now, if we can get 2 even belts into each of these 2 inputs, then we'll be good to go. So all we need to do is split you, merge you up there, and you need to be connected, which it's not gonna cooperate. So I guess we have to dismantle that conveyor belt 6, so then we can get that one in, so that it connects up properly. Alright, so now these 2 split half of their output into that, and half of their output goes forwards into this. Okay, then this one goes into there. This one has to go up a little bit. It has to go up in the right spot without snapping into that. Can I just get a... Where's the conveyor pole there? So you can just go up like that. And then over to there. Alright, then we just need this belt to go over and then into there. Alright, so this is theoretically much better, I believe. So, it looks like the 1200 a minute isn't quite enough for some reason, although that's probably just because of pre-existing issues. So if we just take some of this stuff off the belt, just let it flow a bit more freely. Yeah, so now this is nice and even. It's 600 plus 300 is 900 on each of those, and then they get split into 3, and they do the whole 1 to 5 thing, and this should be evenly balanced. And it should also have the buffer chests. Alright, so this is all good. So that should be that, and then there's one more big bauxite thing over here, which is the western bauxite. So let's head further over to the west and get that one upgraded, and then we'll at least have enough bauxite mining to hopefully set up our new system. So we just run over this way and do a whole bunch of slide jumping. Alright, off we go. And we're gonna need to upgrade the 2 pure nodes, but not the normal node. Alright, so this, go over to here. And I would imagine that you are all filled, and boy, this is... I guess this is fine, actually. So we have you, manifold across the bottom. You go across the bottom the other side, and then you get to do the middle. It's probably fine. It's probably good enough. So let's get them upgraded and make sure that these first steps here are as well. we actually want to make this whole belt system faster than it needs to be, just so that we can slap a buffer chest in some strategic location and make it refill quicker. Alright, so we have all that. Then we drop down to here. And let's see, where is this stuff coming from? That one all the way over there is the normal node, which we don't need to mess with. So that one and that one are our two pure nodes. Alright, so let's get these upgraded from this side then. So that needs to be upgraded, that needs to be upgraded. And then this, oh, I accidentally upgraded. Oh no, that was one of the ones that I needed to upgrade. Alright, so this goes down like there-ish. And then the other one which I needed to do was this one, which is that one, all the way over to here. And then up there. Alright, so that is all good. Now I need to drop down and get the rest of these lifts, which would be helpful if I didn't misclick occasionally. Alright, so then these lifts get upgraded all the way down to ground level. And now we have to run out this way until we can find the actual miners and get them all upgraded. Alright, so that goes out to here, and then out to there. So this can now get an additional power shard and go full speed. Now let's ride this belt back. That's going to be real quick. Okay, now we get this one. Are you planning to restart after 1.2 is released? I am not, probably. I don't know. We'll have to see what I'm feeling then, but I am going to be restarting eventually, but I'm not sure if that will be around like a restart for 1.2. I also have like other things that I want to be doing. Like I want to try out modded stuff, which 1.2 might not have mods yet, really. So we'll see in the future. But I am planning on finishing this world. Alright, so that is all set up. And now it's outputting plenty of bauxite. Alright, so apparently a train came by while I was doing this. So that's good. It'll help me spot any potential problems. Alright, so this is all good. That's the one which we don't care about being faster. Alright, so now we have to fly all the way up to the top and see if we missed anything. Which, theoretically, we should be able to tell from up here. Okay, I don't see anything. Alright, so we need buffer chests in here, which I can squeeze in like that. So this is not how I normally do buffer chests, but this is also not how I normally do any of this stuff. So if we just get something like that in, and then we can put another one in like that. So this should release the extra buffered stuff into these internal ones. And it should be able to go faster because past this first splitter is going to be 600, 600 normally. So if this buffers, then it can add an additional 600 a minute into the system. The top one is slow enough that I don't really care about doing that. Alright, so that should be that. And we're filling those up pretty nicely. Alright, so the bauxite supply is all better. Now, how much... Let's see if I can find my old blueprints from back here. So the alumina solution... Aluminum scrap is 312 petroleum coke per 780 aluminum ingots. And petroleum coke is not that hard to get. So did I have a petroleum coke blueprint? Yes, that's 104 heavy oil residue, which is just 78 crude oil. Alright, so it's like 1 to 10 basically. 1 crude oil per 10 aluminum ingots, I think. So that's not that bad. So when we make our new aluminum factory, we just need to find a place with a decent amount of crude oil. Like, I mean, that's all impure nodes, which means it's going to be just embarrassingly bad. This in here has plenty of crude oil, or we'll just import the crude oil. It'll be fine. That's what that system is even for in the first place. So let's just start building the aluminum factory over here. And are we going to need like more than one train of inputs? I sure hope not. That would be super annoying. Alright, so let's get our 5x5 foundation blueprint in and just place down a bunch of those. Alright, so we have 3 there, and then after the third, that's when our rails go in. So that goes in like that. Then this needs to loop around. Actually, this is way too close to an existing intersection. Alright, do we just have this go across from the intersection? This intersection is actually all it's all weird. It's all messed up. Yeah, let's just move down a little bit. Down like here should be far enough away. Just need a little bit of space. So we have our 3-block area. Then past that we have a couple of rails, and now we just need to get the rails attached up. So you go out to there and out to there, and then we go across like that. Alright, so now this is going to get a path signal there, a path signal there, and a path signal there, and a block signal there. Alright, so we have that now. And now we need to set out our train area here. So we need to be mindful of how we get the bauxite out this time, because we just sort of did it carelessly last time and it caused significant pains. Alright, we need to fill in little gap in there. So let's get all this foundation built out. And that'll be good for a start, probably. Alright, so we are going to get a train station. And let's see, we're going to want to be a little bit over this way. Actually, let's get the rail in first, because I know how far the station has to be from the rails for it to work properly. But I don't know how steep the rails go. So if we just go like that, and then across. Alright, so if we put you 2 rows back, that should be fine. And then you connect in like that. Then we get another one in, and we leave a decent chunk of space there. So something like that. And then we need more foundations out this way. So that is going to go back to there. Let's grab some wire preemptively. Though it's maybe a bit late for that. Alright, and then finally we need to get a little bit of space again. And another station. And then we need to fill in those foundations. So this is going to be the bauxite input. So this is aluminum bauxite 2. This is aluminum oil 2. And this is aluminum output 2. Alright, so those are all in, and now we just need to get them connected up to the rails, and we need to get the actual, whatchamacallit, freight platforms in. So you are like that. So first off, we have the bauxite. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is going to be 5, which means we need an entire extra foundation. It was fine because we wanted a bit more space anyways, so we just do something like that. Alright, so we got 5 freight platforms. Then over here we get our fluid freight platforms, like so. And then we get our aluminum outputs, which are going to go over there. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So that is that. Next, we want the ability to have a constant string of trains in here, which means we want extra long input rails. So let's expand this back a little bit. And concrete is going to be a shortage while we do that. Alright, so how long is this in terms of foundations? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 foundations long. Okay, the stuff in the air, that is like all of my... That's like all of my factories for this entire playthrough. So I build in the air just so I don't have to deal with terrain. So yeah, there's like a billion things, and once you start building big, it sort of just keeps being huge. And yeah, it's definitely addicting. You can just sort of keep building forever. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this rail here should theoretically be long enough to store an additional train, which we might need to do. Alright, so let's get the rest of this foundation out. And we need just a little bit more space back here. Yeah, the later tiers do tend to get pretty complicated. Alright, so let's just get that out to there. And now we go back to this. And why is my spacebar not working? There we go. Thank you. I was trying to hover pack and it wasn't hover packing, which was a little bit weird. Alright, so this railway goes across. And a little bit further across. Okay, now this just has to loop back over this way. And I just realized the bauxite's going to be in a mildly annoying place again, but we should be able to mitigate that. Alright, so this needs to loop in to here. And like that. And then all the way out to there. Alright. So we have that. Now we just have to get that for the other two. So you go out like this. And then forwards a bit into there. Please snap in properly. Thank you. And then one more of those. So you go out like that. And then into there. Alright, so this should let me have a train waiting behind each station so that we can not have interruptions as much. Now we have to get some block signals in to allow that. So those all get signaled. Then we have to go back here. And you get a signal. And you get a signal. That's fine enough placement. You get a signal. Now we have to run these train lines back to here. And oh, I accidentally got that slightly off-centered. That's going to be mildly gross, so let's just redo that. And then you get connected up like so. Alright, so then let's get another random signal in there. And now we get all of the signals in here so that these trains are all separate areas. Alright, so we have that. Now this should be set up and ready to go. So, did I leave enough space in here for... Yes, I did. Cool. Alright. Good. So these get storage containers immediately after train station. And those are all in. So now we have to get the belts out and into those storage containers. So there we go. Just get it across to all of these. And we are going to be going for some pretty fast bauxite processing here, so we're going to need a lot of it. So let's see, if we have 1,200 each, that should be almost sustainable in theory. And if not, then we'll worry about that then. And that would be 6,000 bauxite per minute total, which would then be, what, 600 crude oil total, which is entirely manageable. Yeah, okay, let's go with that then. So then these are going to output, I want to go up or down? I guess if we go down, we're going to get closer to the water, which would be nice. Yeah, so let's go down then. And so we just get a couple of floor holes in here for each of these. And like that. And like that. And then one more. Alright. Wait, we only need one. We actually don't need 2 floor holes per thing. We only need 1 because this is going to be outputting at 1,200 a minute each. So yeah, we can take those out, and that makes this a lot easier. So then these all go in. And that is going to be a lot of bauxite. Alright, then our crude oil, theoretically we only need like 1 pipe's worth, if I did my math correctly. So let's just get in an industrial fluid buffer here, and then have this run a pipe all the way along. This is slightly off center. Why are you slightly off center? Just go like over to there. Thank you. Now you're centered. So now we run this pipe along this way. Alright, what's that? Is that just the train over there that always does the warning thing? Probably. Probably. If not, then I guess we'll figure out at some point. Alright, so these all get joined up, and then the pipeline attaches up. Alright, and then this can just go underground like that. So theoretically that would be enough crude oil to manage the entire thing. And then we need to bring the actual resources in. So we're going to want probably a couple trains from the bauxite because of how much this is going to be. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so you get to be the first one, and you are going to be aluminum to bauxite. Alright, so then you are... Actually, if I just search bauxite, that would be narrowing it down more. So you can go between those two. And yeah, you can probably just go off now. And let's just get a couple more of these guys in, because I know it's going to need it. Might as well get them going now. So there's another one. And you are aluminum 2, bauxite 2. This is where my naming scheme gets a bit convoluted. So we had one sent off to the western bauxite. Let's have one go off to the river bauxite. And then we'll have a third one go to the central bauxite, I think is what it's called. And then hopefully those 3 will be enough for now. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need one more. Is that right? Did I do that right? Yes, because this is like half a thing back. So this now becomes aluminum 2, bauxite 3. And you are going to be going to bauxite source central. And turn on self-driving and off you go. So aluminum 2 bauxite is already here. That's convenient. Alright, so that is there. Alright, so we have bauxite. We're probably only going to need 1 train of oil by contrast. So you go in and you get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you are aluminum to oil. And you can just go to the oil distributor and hope that that's got enough oil there. I have no idea if it will, but 600 oil isn't like an overwhelmingly massive amount, so it's entirely possible. Okay, then I just realized I need to set these guys to load. And then get these guys set to load as well, or unload rather, so that they can actually deposit the bauxite here. Okay, so we've got our aluminum, we've got our bauxite, and this is our output, which we're going to need to deal with. Let's just get this set up now, because I know we're going to need to do this soon. Alright, so we get 3, 4, 5. And then we need to have super speed outputs. So these all go out like so. And there we are. Alright. So that's there. The bauxite is back again. That's what happens when you have the station just directly across like 5 feet away. So we should be getting these guys filled up with bauxite soon. And then we need to figure out how we're doing this. So the bauxite and everything goes down a floor. So that's step 1. So we need to get down a floor, and we need to create a system that takes 1200 bauxite and does stuff with it. Okay, so first actually what we need is blueprints, because I think... Let's actually just do some calculations on the efficiencies here. So if we get a display sign, so sloppy aluminum, that's not how you spell aluminum, plus pure ingots equals 1, bauxite equals 1 aluminum ingot. Alright, so that is how that works, right? So if we go to bauxite, so sloppy alumina is 200 to 240. And then converting that to electrode aluminum scrap is, let's see, what was it? So it's 240 to 400. And then aluminum scrap to ingots is 2 to 1. So it winds up as 200 to 200. So that's sloppy aluminum plus electrode scrap plus pure ingots is 1 to 1, and that's nice and convenient for the math purposes. Now, is it possible to beat the 1 to 1? So let's say we do alumina solution instead. So alumina solution is 120 bauxite to 120 aluminum and 50 silica. Alright, so 120 bauxite equals 120 aluminum, 50 silica. Now, if I then take that alumina solution and I use it to make electrode scrap, as usual, that is 120 to 200 aluminum scrap. So we have 200 aluminum scrap and 50 silica. So that is that. 200 scrap, 50 silica. Then, if we take the scrap and we use this recipe with some of that, so that would give us, so this recipe would use 60 aluminum scrap and the 50 silica we had to make 40 aluminum ingots. So we would have 140 scrap left over and we'd have 40 aluminum ingots. So then if we convert the 140 scrap we had using the 2 to 1 recipe for pure aluminum, then that would give us 70 plus 40 is 110. Okay, so that is just worse. That is just worse than doing it the other way. So that's not going to be a convenient trick. I think the sloppy alumina is just going to be more convenient in the end. Unless I want to do one of these other things, which I don't think that I do. Yeah, okay. We're just gonna do the nice convenient recipe there. Alright, so that is fine. Now let's get some blueprint machine in. Alright, so you get a power line over to here. And Blueprint Designer Mark II. Wish I had Mark III, but I don't. I need to do something in order to unlock that, which I haven't done yet. The neural quantum processors. Alright, so we need to make sloppy alumina. We need to turn a full belt of 1200 bauxite into this, which would be effective 6 machines. Now, how many refineries can I actually fit in here? It's going to be like 4, right? So this should be possible with overclocking. 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so these are sloppy alumina. And it gets pasted across. Alright. So, yeah, if we overclock you... Actually, I only need to overclock you a little bit, right? Then that's 300, which works out. So yeah, these machines take in a full belt of bauxite and 2 full pipes of water. And they are going to make 360, 720, 1440 alumina solution. Which is, you know, that's a bit of alumina solution. It's like 2.5 pipes worth. Alright, so we're going to have to get that set up then. So step 1 is the splitters. And you just go out like that. And this is going to be the easy part because the belts can actually manage this. Alright, so then those parts of the belt need to be able to carry 600, and then we're just going to have our input there, which would be a Mark 6 belt of bauxite. Then we need our water inputs, which specifically we need 2 of. So we have you going across to there, and then we have you going across to there. And then these all get filled in with that. So that goes down, and that one, and that one. Alright, so that is the input side set up properly. Now we just need to get the output side, which is going to be so much worse. So we need to, I guess we just need all of these to have junctions. Because junctions work kind of magically in their ability to balance. Alright, so if we have that, then these 2 combined can give us 600. Then the extra from that can give us 600 there. And then the extra from that can give us 600 there. Actually, we might be able to just have this not connect up at all. So we might be able to have these just go directly forwards into the machines that use them next. Let's hope that that's the case. And theoretically we might even be able to auto snap them. Alright, so this is going to be what, 1200. This is going to be alumina solution 2. So this is 1200 bauxite, 600, 1200 bauxite, 1200, those are O's, not zeros, 1200 water to 1440 alumina solution. Alright, we're going to save that and clear it. Then, the next thing we need to make is going to be the scrap production, I guess, because the, what is it, the electrode, the petroleum coke should be relatively straightforward to make. The scrap is going to be where we need to do the weird ratios. Alright, so we have 1,440 alumina solutions going in. These can handle up to 450 alone. Divided by 4 is 360. Yeah, so these need to take 360 each, which is going to be 600 aluminum scrap out, which I could have done that in my head, honestly. So we just paste that all the way across. And then we need to get the petroleum coke split across, which will be easy. So you just get some splitters in like this, and Mark II belts are perfect for this case. Alright, now these pipes can come out, and they need to go down a little bit in some cases, and then that, and then this one goes up and over. Alright, so that is the input setup, and that will just auto snap across to the previous row's outputs. And then we have our 2,400 aluminum scrap out, and a whole lot of water as well. So, do we just have these... Yeah, let's have these merge up into batches of 1,200. Just because we might as well minimize the amount of belts that are involved. Alright, so now we have 2 belts of 1,200. And then our water outputs are gonna wind up being an annoying number again. So it's going to be 2 pipes of 420. So that goes across to there, that goes across to there. And we might as well get these pipes connected up. Although I don't know how exactly we're going to be distributing them. Because it doesn't... If it were just like a little bit less water, then we could make pipes of 600 with this, and it would be easy. But, alas. Alright, so this is all set up. I just realized I didn't get the power poles in for the previous one. So I should definitely get the power poles in for this, and then go back and upgrade that previous design. Oh, I need... Yeah, speaking of things that I forgot to do, you need to be... you need to go across like that. There we go. So then this pipe does need to go up and over. Like that. Alright, and now we can put in our power pole. Get them all powered up. And I did give them all the recipe. Yes, so this is 1440 alumina solution to 2400 aluminum scrap and 840 water. So this is aluminum scrap 2. So this 1440 aluminum solution and 480 water, or no, 480 petroleum coke to 2400 aluminum scrap and 840 water. All right. So we can save that blueprint, clear it, and then dismantle that whole thing. Actually, wait, no, I'm dumb. I didn't want to dismantle that because I needed to do more. There's still more design work to do. I have to go back and fix the one that I had made previously. So you just need a power pole. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. And that should be fine. Okay, so as far as the water usage goes, each of these is 300. There's not some easy way of getting that to work out, so we're just going to leave that as is. Save that blueprint, overwriting the previous one, and now we need to do the what is it called? Petroleum coke. So we need, what, 480 petroleum coke per blueprint. So that should be manageable. So if we get 2 of these in, and we overclock them to 240 per minute, that's our petroleum coke. And then if we get maybe even just 1 of those in, so we need 160 heavy oil residue, which you can't quite do, so we do need 2 of you. Alright, so that is our 160 heavy oil residue, which we would then just pipe across into that. And let's get the mergers up for the polymer resin while we're at it. There we go. And now this can just go across like that, and then yeah, I guess it might as well go all the way across while elevated, and then go down into that. Alright, I don't know why that's giving invalid pipe shape, but I guess if we try to build it the other way around, yeah, so if we build it like that, it works for whatever reason. Thank you, Satisfactory pipe mechanics. Very cool. Alright, so then those guys get connected up. And we just need that to get connected across. And we're going to need to remove that support because it's going to be in the way. And then we need to just put in 120 crude oil into this. So that would go across here. And then go into there. Alright, then this is the petroleum coke, which we just merge up. And what is it, 240 each, so these need to be Mark 3s. And that will be that for now. Alright, so now we go down here and we call this Petroleum Coke 2. And it's 120 crude oil to 480 petroleum coke. Save that. Clear the designer. Now I think we might be done with blueprint spam. So now we just have to actually build these things, which we can do wherever we... Oh wait, no, there is one more. There's one more blueprint that we need. Mustn't forget about that. And it is the actual scrap processing one. So, we are going to need a bunch of constructors. And we're going to need this to be super compact. Actually, can I just take my old variant of this? Where are you? Aluminum ingots. Yeah, so if I just take you, you are doing something weird. What are you up to? Okay, you have this extra bit over here, which I'm sure is probably was important then, but I think we can get away without it now. So let's take all this stuff out. And oh boy. That's suspicious looking. I think we have a train failure. Okay. So we need to get you guys visible, and yes, the trains have failed all the way along. So that is urgent because some of these trains are connected into my power grid, so I need to stop whatever happened here. It's going to be so hard to find. It's going to be so hard to find where the actual source of the problem is. But it's definitely not back here. So these guys are all victims of the problem. Alright, so this is all just doing normal train stuff. No one here looks like they're broken. They're broken if they're sitting in an intersection like this guy, for example. What are you doing here? So you're sitting there. Why? What are you? You are fused frame aluminum. And you are sitting here, not entering the fused frame section. Alright, so the fused frame section is occupied. By what? I don't see anything immediately. Okay, there's this guy here. What are you doing? Oh, I see. This is the bauxite source central. Okay, well, I guess first step, just as a temporary measure, if we put a signal in there, you should be able to come up to here. And then we're going to need to improve the bauxite's ability to store trains, basically. So yeah, this is what happened. And I'm sure this is the root cause of the entire thing, because it's something that I specifically changed just recently, when things were working before. Alright, so now this train... What are you... Did I not give you... Okay, I didn't give you that. Alright, that was incredibly sloppy of me. I wonder if I did that somewhere else. Alright, so now you should be moving forwards. And you shouldn't be sitting in this station for long. So I think theoretically this shouldn't be like a persistent issue. Alright, so yeah, now you go forwards. And you will go in, and then you'll be fine. Alright, so you're off, and then hopefully that will get everything done. Alright, so yeah, now you can move forwards, and we're all clear. Alright, so if I want to fix that, I would take you, chop you out, and then have you go back to here, give you plenty of space before eventually attaching you back in. So if you go like that, and then we have a block signal. Actually, it would be nice if I could put a block signal on that, but put a block signal there, I guess. So then a train waiting in there should be all fine. And now we're going to have to see if that problem has caused other parts to break independently for other reasons, which I just haven't detected before now. So we are going to have to run up to this north section and this giant east section and see if... It's very possible that they aren't broken and they're just late on the list of things which will eventually get fixed once it starts functioning again. But it's also very possible that the backlog caused some other break to happen. So we're going to have to go over there and investigate. So this north section can be next. Up we go. Alright, I'm pretty sure this must be independently broken because there's just too much space in here. There's too much space in here for this to be functional. Alright, once again, we're looking for a train which is just sitting in an intersection, like you. What are you doing here? Okay. So you thought you could get through here, but this block signal is too close. Alright. Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you for doing that. That's definitely what I wanted to have happen. Alright, well now you have gotten close enough in that you've actually fixed the issue, hilariously enough. So I guess that's fine for now. And then you need to get going. Right, I forgot to give you aluminum oil 2. It's incredibly sloppy of me to forget to do that. But there you go. So now you should be heading out and emptying that area. And then I really need to be able to just put a block signal just in the right spot. Although I guess I could shift all the block signals up a little bit. So if you get a block signal there, and then this block signal also moves up a little bit to there, and you get self-driving, you should be off, and you can get self-driving, and now you can go, and that should be resolved now. Alright, so you are going. So you've made it around. This is no longer a major obstacle. Now that guy can go in. Alright, yeah, so this should be all fixed. And it's just a matter of how long it takes for these guys to figure that out. So yeah, now those guys are all moving. And we are good up here. Alright, now the eastern section is definitely also still broken. So let's head on over there and see if I've done the same mistake a third time in a row, or if this is just something different. Alright, so we're just going to run over here, and then, is this where we turn east? No, we have to go a little bit further. Alright, so down here, and this is where we turn. Alright, so now we can head over this way and figure out what went wrong. So we should be getting this all up and running, hopefully before the entire power grid crashes. Because we do have the rocket fuel power plant's sulfur is on the train network, and the nuclear power plant's rubber is taken from one of these factories, which is also on the power grid. Alright, so now we're in this area. So you say you can't go forwards, which seems a bit nonsensical. Where are you trying to go? You're trying to go to River Bauxite Source. Alright. Well, this area is definitely cleared. Oh, I know. We need you. Okay, so you needed an additional block signal in order to work properly. And let's give you even another one. And that should be fine. Alright, so now that you're in, these trains should be able to move now. And now we just get to wait and see if there's even another lingering problem. It's kind of incredible that I made, what, 4 trains, one of them worked perfectly, and the other 3 all independently caused traffic jams, like, near simultaneously. Like, I actually just did everything wrong. Okay, you are sitting in an intersection. Why? Okay, because this block signal is too close. Alright, so that hasn't caused a problem this time, but, like, it's going to eventually, right? So we're just going to move that signal a bit further back, and... okay, that's too close, but it's not super close to a intersection, so I guess it's fine. Alright, so that whole section is filtering out and looking back to normal. So we still have a whole bunch of warning lights over here, although not that many actually. So that chain is going to be going, these guys in here, are still waiting, but they're probably just going to be waiting a bit for an intersection, and then they'll be good to go. Alright, so yeah, you are out. And with that, then another one of these guys should be able to go. And, okay, there's a guy waiting in an intersection over there. So we're going to need to stop that right away. And this is another problem which will eventually stop being an issue as he works his way through. But I would just rather it not be an issue in the first place. Right, so this is the situation where these two intersections are very close to each other. So we need a path signal there. But that causes everything to break. Okay. So what caused you to go there? You shouldn't be able to be there, probably. I don't understand how that's possible. Because, I mean, this entire area is all signaled, right? So the only way to get in would be to bypass that path signal, one of those two path signals, and then get stuck there. Alright, I don't know how that happened. It theoretically shouldn't. And so, since it theoretically will solve itself, as long as there's not another traffic jam, I think we just leave it and hope that it doesn't happen again. Alright, here's another guy waiting in an intersection. You all need to stop doing this. Like, there's a path signal there specifically to prevent you from doing this. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to enter this area unless you can also leave. And yet you are anyways. Who knows? Trains can be weird sometimes. For now, it's not being an issue, so I think we're just gonna have to leave it. And okay, is it just me, or is only one of those smokestacks animating? Has something gone horribly wrong in my nuclear power plant? No, okay, it was just a weird animation glitch. That's fine then. So yeah, we can drop down, and I guess that one was just far enough away that it was like doing a default long distance animation, whereas the other ones were not far enough to do that, but also not close enough to do the close up animation. Let's just check here. Yeah, you're at 100%. Everything's looking fine there. Alright. So we've managed to fix that crisis, probably. Unless... okay, no, apparently not. We're going to have to respawn, because it's going to take me forever to get out over there from here. Alright, so we're going to respawn, and we're going to head north. And see what exactly the whole problem is. Yeah, I just want to get the train system back up and running before we end the stream, because I'm totally going to forget that it was a problem otherwise. And then who knows what will happen. Alright, so we're up here. And where is it? Is it these guys? It's in the oil hub, as you might expect. Although it does look like it isn't... It looks like it's not a problem where they're jammed. It looks like they're just being very slow. Which, there's no law against them being very slow, I guess. Alright, so that is all going, and it should be fine. I'd like to see these guys get entirely fixed first, but that's probably going to take forever. Now, it is still having enough oil throughput to at least be close to satisfying everything, so that's nice. Alright. Yeah, let's... I think we're good here. So I think I'm going to call it a day. Thanks, Eva, for hanging out. It was a lot of fun. We have gotten started on our large-scale aluminum production facility, which we're going to need. Frankly, we're going to need not that much of it in order to get the plutonium power plant running, but we're going to need some of it, so I might as well do it all now, rather than in piecemeal little chunks. So we've gotten started on that, and then we've also managed to fix some train problems. Alright, so yeah, that'll be it for today. We'll be back tomorrow playing Factorio, where we are designing some space platforms for more proper, effective use for transporting stuff back and forth from places like Gleba. And then we'll be back here in Satisfactory on Thursday, where we're going to be hopefully doing the aluminum factory. Hopefully that shouldn't be too hard, since I've done it, twice now already. So that should be easy, and then hopefully we can get that done fast enough to start on the plutonium power plant or some other side quest involving that. And so yeah, that'll be it. We'll be streaming every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time. So if you're interested in any various factory building games that I like to play, make sure to follow if you haven't already. If you have already followed, thanks, that's pretty cool. And that's about it. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you guys next time.